Yes. Coming to you live. Yep.
Mic check, mic check.
Yeah. Well, again, who was it? Who was it? It was somebody said that she was like, I like that. It's a good start to the show. Make kind of warm up thing. And I just kept doing it. And I was kind of
Became a thing.
Mm-hmm. Feedback stays on this show. Like when people like feedback. Like there's a few people who like contributed to things in this show, and they stay. Like if it works good, we're keeping it. You know, if it works, we're keeping it.
No audio feedback. Just to be clear.
That stuff's got to go.
Alrighty. Good?
Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is now 8:03 a.m. It's the 2nd of the month. Get up, get up, get up. Cash your checks and get up. It is September 2nd, 2020, and we have a great show for you guys today. Good morning, Aurora. We are glad to be the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And we're joined today by our brother, Chicano. Good morning, sir. Good morning. All right. Let's get these claps going on, y'all. Yes. The claps. Live claps. We don't need a button. We're not even going to get the button. It's going to be live claps all the time. All right. So we have a great interview with Chicano. We'll get to after the news and the weather. So the weather right now is a nice 68 degrees outside. It feels really good. The high today will be 84 degrees. Tomorrow is going to be 84 as well with a high, and it looks like some rain and partly cloudy. Oh, Lord. And then there's going to be rain on Sunday, a lot of it. Saturday looks like it'll be beautiful at 83 degrees. That's AKA hot. So get yourself ready for the weekend because it will be fun, except for Sunday. All right, First Fridays is coming back. But before we talk about First Fridays, I want to talk to you about what should be maybe First Saturday, this Saturday the 5th, from 9 a.m. until it's gone. Pollo and Rice Palooza. Free, 10 pounds of chicken and rice per family. Pick up for you and your friend. This will be at Wabanzi Valley High School, 2590 Ogden Avenue in Aurora. Special thanks to Amigos Meat Chicago for their donation of 42,000 pounds of chicken, and Martin Produce Incorporated for their donation of 42,000 pounds of rice. This is also going to be in conjunction with our State Senator Linda Holmes and our representatives for the 83rd and 84th District, Hernandez and Kifawit, respectively. So thank you for that, and that's going to be good. And you will find your boy at WVHS getting the chicken and rice. I'm going to be there. 10 pounds? Run that. All right. First Friday. This is going to be an excellent lineup. So we gave you a good number of some of the spots on yesterday. However, we did omit a couple. Number one, Altiro Latin Fusion will be showcasing Damian Rivero with live Spanish rock from 6 to 9 p.m. Altiro Latin Fusion's at 1 South Stope Avenue. That's right there on Stope and Galena. So shout out to Altiro. Riverfront Playhouse will feature live music from 6 to 10 p.m. in front of their doors along Water Street Mall. Music duo The Heels will be joined by musical friends. The Aurora Historical Society will have their windows on display throughout the evening with a look back, a special Roots Aurora window display at the David L. Pierce Art and History Center, 20 East Downer Place. Roots Aurora was unable to hold their annual event as part of September's First Fridays and instead planned activities downtown-wide. SciTech Hands-On Museum, 18 West Benton, will again host a downtown scavenger hunt and sidewalk sale. Dang, from 5 to 7 p.m. And Simply Destiny, 122 West Downer Place, will feature Diz dancing at their location from 5 to 8 p.m. Simply Destiny is right next door to us. Shout out. Simply Destiny. Legacy Fitness, 77 South River Street will offer outdoor fitness for all from 5 to 8 p.m. in the parking lot adjacent to their building. Offbeat, Thrift and Vintage, 14 West Downer Place, Suite 16 downstairs underneath Wickwood.
Yes.
We'll open a Mod Taj Tiki Party from 5 to 9 p.m. And Warehouse 55 55 South Lake Street will celebrate their first anniversary from 6 to 8 p.m. Stop by and pick up a grab-and-go bouquet from Blissful Blooms. Tongue-tied. All right. Camellia Danza Belly Dance at Zenloft Wellness Center, 6 West Downer Place, will dance outdoors at 7:30 p.m. And Gillerson's Grubbery, 33 West New York Street, will be open with Brenner specials from 8 to 9:30 p.m. A rescheduled movie night for the Breakfast Club will start at 9:30 p.m. To reserve your tables for the movie, call Amy Sue at 630-340-3719. What up?
What's up?
Okay. And shout out, one more shout out, an extra shout out to the Cottonseed Creative Exchange. 8 North Broadway will be open from 6 to 9 p.m. with free Baminda coffee and the release of photographer Ivan Cormona's Closer to the Lung coffee table book. And also don't forget, Gallery 1904, Visual Arts, is having their photo exhibition part 2. Now, there's a lot of good things that have been taking place, excuse me, down there at Gallery 1904, which is at 1 East Benton. That is now the Support Tech building, but it used to be the old Aurora Public Library. So that's specifically Benton and Stope where that's at. Shout out to Visual Arts and shout out to Aurora Downtown and the art community. All right. And with that, that is the news. So now let's move into our interview with our brother from another mother, our mister from another sister, Chicano. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right, all right. So for those who don't know, let us know who you are and where you're from.
All right, my name is Chicano, and I'm from out here in Aurora.
Okay.
I grew up out here, but I was gone for a while. Been back
Okay.
for a few years now, and since I've been back, I've been involved in the community in so many different ways.
Good, good, good. You have been involved in many different ways, and we'll get to all those ways and also the ways the community has been shaping over time, too. Growing up, what impact did your mom have in your life?
Well, I can say that it wasn't a deep impact, you know. I grew up figuring things out on my own mostly.
Right.
You know? So there's not a lot that I can say there. I don't have a bad relationship with her. It's just that, you know,
Right.
I figured things out on my own as I went along.
When young people take the time to figure their own stuff out, to go through those bounces in life and everything like that, I personally feel that that makes them resilient and gives them a stronger character. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. It
Okay.
takes a little longer with what you're doing.
Right.
You have to figure it out on your own, but it does.
Yeah, when there's no blueprint to read. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us about, so we're going to get into Chicano's times as well, okay? But in a nutshell, what would you tell the outside person about Aurora, the community, and the people? If someone came from somewhere else and asked, what's up with this town? What would you say?
Well, I would say that there's a lot building here. You know, so like I said, I grew up out here. I was out here in the 80s and 90s,
Mhm.
and it was a lot different back then. There were still things going on,
Right.
but in the last few years, I've seen a whole lot of different things taking shape.
Right.
And so people can see it. It's obvious, but I don't think it's where it's gonna be. And I say within the next few years, you're gonna see a lot more because there's a lot of different elements being put in place to where it's gonna really, you know, blow up as far as in a good way, you know.
Right.
Downtown, east side, west side, all that, but a lot downtown. You know?
Yeah, downtown has changed.
Right.
Downtown's changed a lot. A lot of the buildings that were just sitting there for so long have have come back to life, some good life. They got some breath in them and everything.
Yeah, and then with the new walkway they put in right there. Across
The pedestrian
river,
walkway, yes.
That, I was at a town hall meeting when Mayor Irvin first became mayor,
Mhm.
and you know they were talking about a lot of different issues of, you know, Aurora, and within the next 10 years, what may take place, and they were asking ideas from the residents and all that. And I remember I brought that up as well, and I didn't know that they were about to. They had plans to do a walkway, but I was telling them, you know, you got River Edge right there. It would be a good idea to put a walkway, and that's where they were like, oh, you know, we have that in mind already.
Yeah.
So I think that was a you know, a very good thing that they came up with that because you have so much more potential with that there.
Oh yeah.
Traffic on
Hell yeah, you do.
Right.
Yep.
But the other thing I was saying was you have River Edge here. You should put another place where you can throw concerts on this side of the river,
Right.
this side of the walkway.
Down River Street right there.
Right. and
Yeah.
You have, on where the walkway is on this side, on the west side of the river.
Okay, yeah. That's River Street, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Yeah, River.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it's you put one here and you have one here and you got them going on at the same time.
Mhm.
You have so much more potential for Aurora to bring a lot of different acts from
I like that.
outside.
Yeah.
You know?
We were talking about that beforehand, about just feedback and suggestions and making changes. And that people have to listen to other people's suggestions to improve the overall picture.
Yes, I think that's
Mhm.
important. You know,
Yeah.
Because you have the people in the mix that are working on these type of things, and they do have a lot of their good ideas. But sometimes you'll get that one or two people that they might not be involved with the overall, but they have that one good idea that can just add to it. You know?
Right, just makes it better.
Yeah.
Tell us, what was it like in Aurora during the 80s and 90s when you were here?
In the 80s and 90s, specifically the 80s, there was a lot less going on here. Not all the buildings were abandoned, but still wasn't downtown. Still wasn't happening.
Wow.
Back then, they even had like movie theaters down here. Downtown, they had a couple different ones. You know,
Tivoli?
that's how far back they go. I believe back to the 70s. But
Wow, they had movie theaters downtown. Man, that would have been awesome.
and
I'm salty now.
so back then there wasn't that many programs either for the youth. You know,
Right.
If you were growing up, I don't think there was the same access for everybody. But where I grew up, there weren't too many programs or anything like that.
You grew up on the east side.
Well, I grew up all over basically,
Okay.
but a lot in the east side.
Right.
You know, and yeah, there was no programs. So when you're growing up, you just grow up how you grow up.
Right.
And if the streets are there, you grow up in the streets. You know.
Right.
So
Yeah, the lack of programs has always been a thing. And it's sad to see now even that there are programs. So there are programs, but isn't it sad to see how slow something like that is taken to get off the ground for certain communities?
yes, and it's a problem, but I would say right now that there are a lot more programs, way a lot more than there
Right.
was. But I don't think it's still, even though there's a way lot more, there still needs to be more. It's not enough.
Right.
But back then there were hardly any, and it makes a big difference. And like you said, yeah, it's slow and going, but when people talk about crime and they don't, they want Aurora to be a good community and all that, then it would be obvious to focus on that. Then I mean, of course you have to focus on business and everything, but it would be obvious to put your money into that, into the youth, into a bunch of programs,
Right.
community centers and things like that, because otherwise you're constantly going to be complaining about shootings and gang-related activity, just people being in the streets, drugs and all that, and when there's ways you can help,
What would you say is the best program or one of the best programs? Now, hold on, let me start over because I consider Aurora Boxing Club. Okay, I consider that a program, but we'll talk about that. What do you think is one of the best ones around right now?
One of the best programs?
Yeah.
For the youth?
Mm-hmm.
I can't really pinpoint anything.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of good programs, but I really can't pinpoint
Right,
any
yeah.
that I would say which is probably the best.
Mm-hmm. The fact that there are a number to choose from and a number out there helping is good in and of itself.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a variety to choose from.
I'm still kind of stuck on movie theaters back downtown, or that probably would have been cool, right? Go check out a little flick. You could walk around here. Really?
Because before the Fox Valley Mall, downtown was where everybody went. And then once the Fox Valley Mall came,
I didn't live here then. Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so there was a lot more going on down here. There was a lot of stores down here, bigger stores. And Fox Valley Mall changed that.
What's a store you can remember?
I think a store by the name of Goldblatt's, I believe.
Goldblatt's, old school. Oh, yeah. Okay, Goldblatt's. I saw it.
The movie theater was called the Tivoli.
Yeah, interesting.
I wasn't here, but I have learned about them. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw an old picture of Aurora. So in All Spoked Up, that's where I saw that Blatts. In All Spoked Up, they got a huge picture of the corner of Galena and Broadway, and you could see a sign that says Blatts, Goldblatt's. Like, crazy. And when John showed it to me, I was like, I know that store because Goldblatt's old school.
It was a business store. It's right on the corner.
Yep.
So it was a lot of traffic in and out.
That's-
All on Broadway right there was a lot of traffic. Even across the street there was a diner on the north side of it, Goldblatt's on Galena.
Yeah.
There's a diner right there. They're rehabbing the building right now.
Okay.
They're doing construction.
Yeah.
Right on it.
What was-
But that was a happening diner as well because it had windows all the way around.
Yeah.
So right there while the traffic's going by.
Nice.
I'm trying to think, what would Goldblatt's be today? Like a Target? Like, it was pretty accessible. It wasn't like higher
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Like, because everybody went there.
Yeah. Everybody.
You got your clothes, shoes.
Yeah, I'm from like the venture era. You know what I'm saying?
That came later. Like, definitely not Kmart. No.
What do you think is Aurora's strength at the moment?
Aurora's strength.
Yeah.
I'd just say the people, because there are so many people out here that I've been running into, that I've been meeting, and that are involved in so many different organizations, so many different businesses. So I would say the people. The people are what makes up what's going on in Aurora, So I don't want to say a business or an organization, just the people themselves, because you can have these many different organizations, these many businesses, and they're a good thing, but a lot of them come together, like some of the organizations, and when they come together, you do a lot of wonderful things. So,
Right.
yeah, for me, it's the people, is what makes up Aurora.
So for the listeners, you've been very involved in the community in many different ways and many different levels. So that's, in addition to giving your time, you also help to organize people and to make sure that their voices are heard. For example, and I really want to get to this. The time is now 8:18 a.m. You're listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. We're sitting down with a friend of the show, Chicano. You were involved with one of the main people I saw with the Vanessa Guillen March that took place here in Aurora on Lake Street. For those that don't know, can you explain the purpose of that march?
Okay, the purpose of that march was one thing. I was not the organizer of the march.
Right. Okay. Right.
I was involved in
Right.
it. I spoke there, but I was not the organizer. So we did two.
Okay.
Different ones. But the purpose of that was to bring awareness and justice for Vanessa. Because although that was in Texas, it still affects us here.
Sure.
It affects our community. For what's going on in Fort Hood, we want to do our part, because there are other parts of the United States that are shining light on that, are asking for justice for Vanessa, and we felt we had to do our part as well, so that way her voice is heard throughout the whole United States. And it was about bringing awareness to it, telling the young women, if these problems are occurring there when you're signing up to serve your country and you can't even be protected, and you're serving your country, then we're telling the young women, don't sign up right now. Wait till they fix the problem, because it's not right for you to protect your country, and then anything goes there, and then they want to cover it up and things like that. So that was part of it, and another part of it was talking about the ROTC programs, how they have a big program here, I believe in East High, and they recruit, young Latinos, Latinas, or anybody, minorities, even, and I think they go there because they feel that in Aurora, the community, especially the East Side, it's more lower income, and they feel that a lot of the people there don't have a way out. So they want to come recruit them to the military, promise them all these things, and then they go not really understanding what they're getting themselves into. And then they get there thinking, okay, I'm going to have a better career, better life, I'm going to serve my country, and then these type of things happen to them. So it's not just the fact that she got murdered. It's the assaults, the violence, the sexual assaults and all that happen there too, and maybe the way they treat you, So it was a lot of different things that we felt that we had to speak up about. And when we were there was a lot of women there. That's what I liked. There was more women than men there at that march. And a lot of them were speaking up on sexual violence and all that, in the military. Some of them were women that served in the military. And then it goes back to not just the military. It also goes back to the culture of the people, to men, to the families, to the boys in general, as they're growing up. There were some women there talking about, it's even in our families, and we need to start teaching our kids, the boys, how to respect women while they're young. Because now, if you don't teach them that as they get older, this is what happens when they go to the military. You know, you go to the military as a young man, you go with this mentality that you're ready to fight, you know, war and all that, so you're really hyped up. And then the way you were brought up as far as dealing with women, not having that respect, or, you know, you feel you're dominant, things like that. And those type of things from your childhood, you know, they take shape when you're in the military, and it creates those type of problems. So it's the military, yes, but it goes all the way back to while we're growing up, of, you know, why we felt we had to speak on that to bring it all up, bring it all out.
And even just a matter of speaking up. Like some people, you know, they won't say anything. So again, just kind of bring that to light, especially with young women.
Yes.
That you have to raise your voice and, you know, call out these wrongs.
Yeah, and so the fact that they see us speaking up, and we had all the other women there, we're letting them know, like, don't be afraid. We're here. We got you. We're going to support you. And if you feel you have to speak up, you know, because this is the only way we're going to make change. You know, we're going to speak up, but also we're going to look to make the change. We're not just going to talk and then that's it, you know. We're going to try to do things about these type of things.
I'm glad that you guys did that. That was strong. It was big. It was powerful. So that the commander of Fort Hood was just sacked yesterday, which, until you change culture, to me, that's just a person who got fired.
Right.
Okay. Being a veteran, I know very well how misogynistic the jokes, the crooch, I would not sit here and try to deny that.
Right.
I wonder, though, it's been a lot of lives changed in the Latino or in minority communities. We've celebrated first Latino commandants, or not commandants, but first Latino Marines of different ranks and different things like that. Should we get rid of the ROTC programs in high schools?
I believe so, because the reasons they're doing it. And yeah, people join the military, they serve their country, they make it back, they end up becoming successful in their life, they're disciplined, things like that. But I believe they may be doing it for the wrong reasons. So we should look into that, and if it's being done for the wrong reasons, if you're there recruiting just because in the minority communities, they have less chance of succeeding in life as far as going to college and careers, where they, once they graduate, or if they do drop out, they just take, regular menial jobs. We need to look into that to see if that's the purpose of going to that specific school and recruiting.
I feel you.
And we have to look at other schools that don't have minorities, and see if they have those type of programs there. So I don't want to speak too much on that because I'm not super familiar with it, so I don't want to misstate anything. Mm-hmm. But from the little understanding that I do have of that, it needs to be looked into. And if, like I said, if that's the purpose, then yes, get rid of it.
No, I feel you. I agree. If the only way to get out of a community is through joining the military, perhaps that community could have better avenues, different avenues, which to help people. You shouldn't have only one way to. Right. I'm feeling you. You know what I'm saying? I do understand. I do completely understand that.
Right.
Now let's talk about some of our social justice issues that have taken place in Aurora. Okay. You've got more knowledge of Aurora. With the exception of the George Floyd incident and everything that came to Aurora, was there ever anything like that in Aurora's history?
As far as people being murdered by the police, I do not know of any incidents like that. But yes, there are things that could have led up to that.
Sure.
It just didn't,
Sure.
It stopped some way, somehow. But a lot of times it's little minor things that lead to that, And if you see a lot of the cases where they were killed by police, it wasn't something that they were doing something big, something major, you know?
Yeah, we're robbing a bank. This is a rolling stop or some shit.
Yeah, there's a big difference there. So out here in Aurora, too, there's been a lot of situations where it was something small that could have turned to that, but some way, somehow, it ended up stopping.
Right.
But there's always the potential now and in the future for that to happen. And that's one of the things that we're speaking up on now is let's try to prevent that, because eventually it's going to happen out here, whether someone's going to get killed by the police out here or somebody's going to kill the police out here, know. And we, because it can happen over a traffic stop, anything, you know. You can be in your car and they want you to get out, and even though you don't have anything, you make a wrong move, and next thing you know,
They're slamming you and all this. Yeah.
yeah. So and you could be minding your own business, not even committing any type of crimes. You know what I mean? You know, whether you were committing a crime or not, you know, still, you know, that's not right. But I mean, it could be something simple, and then it just like that, it'll turn to a different way.
That kind of thing doesn't happen in Naperville. Why do you think that is?
Because in those type of neighborhoods like Bolingbrook, people have jobs there. They have careers, right? They have things to do. The way the neighborhoods are set up, you know, you grow up, you know, in a certain way to where everybody basically does the same thing, you know. So there's a big difference there when you have things, when you have jobs, careers. If you have mental issues, if you have drug problems, you can go get treatment. You can pay for your treatment, you know, for the drugs.
Right.
Mental issues, you can pay for it. Here, if you don't have anything, low income, you know, apartments, things like that, low income housing. Sometimes here you have so many different families living in one house, one apartment, things like
Right.
that, you know, so overcrowded. Those type of places, they're more established, more, you know, well equipped to deal with life.
Tell us about the Save Our Children movement. Huh?
No, you're good.
No.
The Save Our Children movement.
My co-host just hit me off camera, y'all. So if y'all were wondering,
I just wanted to ask that.
if y'all were
question.
wondering, Save Our Children is a movement.
You're talking about the cages.
Yes.
Okay. I was involved in one of those. I believe it was last year.
Okay.
In the beginning, when that first started happening, a lot of people mobilized, and I went to Chicago and marched.
Okay.
You know, and protest against that. I mean, it's very obvious that that's something that should not take place. I mean, that's something that we should not even be marching, fighting about, arguing about. I mean, there's
no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. There's a lot of things that they're doing, they shouldn't be doing, and we march and protest and, you know, try to get the laws changed or whatever. But that's something there that everybody, you know, even the people in power, the people that are doing this, they have kids. You know, it's a no-brainer would you want your kids to be treated like that, no matter who you are? You know what I mean? So, if you're doing things like that, then it's not a matter of they're doing it because it's kids. It's a matter of the race, the human race, you know, or this person's type of race, or you just don't like that race or something. Because
Right.
would you do that to your own kids? No.
I saw there was a lot of marches in Chicago. So shout out to Pilsen, first of all. Shout out to Humboldt Park. Shout out to everybody in between, up and down Western Avenue, in between, for like all the different neighborhoods.
Right.
Okay, so let's start there. I didn't take place in a march, but I did take place in a discussion that happened at a church, the name of which I won't state. You know what was sad? The amount of people in this church who had a way to somehow defend, right? Oh, well, if they would have just come here, right? The amount of people who were able to construct some type of way to justify a 6-year-old taking care of a 3-year-old with pneumonia.
Right.
I couldn't believe how this lady or whoever, you know, I'm sitting next to is literally, right? On her phone, her screensaver is her kids or her granddaughter.
Right.
Or she, you know, and this lady is literally sitting in here in this church, and she's able to construct a defense as to why it's this 19-year-old Honduran girl's fault that her kids are in Texas and she's back in. And to your point, it's just like, it just makes you like,
Right.
what the fuck is going on
Right.
with humans?
Right. Because there's no excuse, you know.
How are you able to do this? Sitting in this church, we got cookies and water and shit in this roundtable discussion, and this
Right.
lady's able to do it. It's crazy.
Yeah, so like I said, like we said, it's a no-brainer. There's no excuse for that type of thing, you know. And even here in the United States, you know, person goes to jail, you separate them from their kids or whatever. But that's a different story. They're coming from a whole nother country, you know. They don't have what we have here, so they're in a whole nother country coming this way. They have their kids. You're never supposed to separate them, you know. They're trying to go by where you can't, like the penitentiaries, the counties, you know, where you have to be an adult, and then the juveniles have to be in the juvenile detention center. But this is not where they're committing crimes and they're locked up for those reasons. They're coming here, and then you're intercepting them, and then you're separating them like that. And that's one thing that shouldn't be done. The family should be kept together no matter what, because they're losing them, you know, and
Right.
a lot
And
of
not
bad
only
things are
that,
happening to
if
them.
you want to get rid of these people and don't want them in your country, why are you keeping them in?
Exactly.
Who's keeping the kid? Like, what is that? Yeah, it's sick. It's
Right.
sad. It's very sad. For those that don't know, what kind of challenges do the undocumented community in Aurora face?
In Aurora,
It's an America thing, but we're just
In Aurora,
speaking of
right?
our little bubble. Yeah.
Access to the resources, because a lot of people are under the impression that because social media is out there, that everybody's on social media, that everybody's getting the same information, but everybody's not getting the same information. So you can be in office here downtown and posting, okay, we're going to have this meeting here, or, you know, this type of resource for you, you know, you can come out and get it. And then if you go to it, sometimes it's, you know, not that many people go. So they're under the impression that, oh, we're on social media, everybody's going to see it, but it's not the case. You know, the majority are on social media, but not everybody's seeing the same thing. You know, there's a whole lot of different things that you're seeing. So that's the issue that people need to understand in order to try to reach other people, you know, to reach everybody as a whole. So there's a lot of things. There's a huge Latino population here, and a lot that don't speak English, you know. And one of the challenges is a lot of the information that's given out is not given out in Spanish. It's given out in English. And there was a time where I was going to some neighborhood group meetings, and there was some information that they wanted to put out to the whole community of Aurora. So they were doing these mailers to all the households, and they were all in English. So, you know, we don't need to speak on what type of program or who it was like that, but, you know, the question came up was, is it in Spanish? And they're like, no, we didn't do it in Spanish, and we figured, like, you know, you should have thought to do it in Spanish because there's a huge population of Latino, you know, people here. And if you really want them to get this information, then, you know, it's just what should be. So that's a big challenge they face, because now they might not have that same access, that same opportunity that someone else had, you know, that knows English.
Right.
And then I would say the challenge with the police department as well, because there's, you know, violence, you know, police brutality and all that. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, there's a lot of cases out here where they're afraid to speak up of something that the police officers have done to them because they're undocumented, and they're afraid that they're going to get deported or detained, you know, so they don't say anything. And I think that's a problem. So I think that we as a people, as a community, or even, you know, us as leaders in organizations should speak up and watch out for that, you know, because regardless if they're undocumented, they still have rights, and they shouldn't be afraid to speak up, you know. And if it's hard for them to speak up, then we have to speak up for them, or give them that avenue to where they can do it, and you know, they're not scared that something's going to happen to them, you know, because I believe that's a big problem.
I do too. One of the other issues was, and still, I guess, is and has been the census, and filling out the census and everything like that. You know, the census is not. It's for representation with which to get funds for our city,
Right.
which helps all neighborhoods. There has been a problem having residents and Latino communities fill out the census. What kind of ways can we adopt to tackle that specifically?
As far as, I don't get the question. As far
Improving results.
Yeah, improving the
Improving
results,
results.
like making sure that Latino communities know that, like, the census it's not tracking them.
It's confidential.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's confidential. It's not tracking them. It's not you know, I've done some work in Latino communities. They see a
Right.
brother with a tie walking to the door with a clipboard. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're like, yo, close the door. Like, we have to let people know that we're not tracking them. It's confidential information, but it's for our benefit. So
Right.
what ways can we do that?
So of course they're not going to trust, right?
Right.
No matter who it is. So I mean, you have to have people that speak Spanish, their own, and not to make it sound like it's race or anything, but to have their own people
Sure.
coming to them,
No, yeah.
because they don't feel comfortable. They're not going to fill it out, So you want them to feel comfortable. Send people that know their language, that are who they are, and try to help them.
If I
feel
knocked on your
comfortable.
door with a clipboard, would you open for me?
Yeah. but there's a lot they won't.
Because you know me. Oh,
'Cause
Kurt,
I
what
know
up,
you.
dog? Yeah, what?
Yeah.
Anybody comes to my door, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Send me a text.
Yeah. And another thing too is I believe that they say, okay, we go to churches and things like that to get people to fill out the census, but I think a big place they're forgetting about is the factories and the warehouses. Because there's a huge population of people here that work in factories and warehouses, so they're not out getting the information. You can be advertising, oh, the census counts, you should do this, you should do that, or they go into your home to ask you to fill out the census. But a lot of people in that are not making a lot of money, they're not just working 8 hours, they're working 10, 12 hours, double
Right.
shifts, or they work at this factory. Once they get off, they go to another factory, So I brought that up one time. They were speaking about the census at a session, and I talked about that. Like, are you guys reaching the factories, the warehouses? Because there's a lot there, and they don't know what's going on. I've spoken to them,
Right.
A lot of them don't even know the first thing about government, about aldermen. They don't even know who an alderman is. So they're not going to understand the census either, But I believe that should be a big focus of that if you want to reach the Latino community, because they're there. They're there, and once they get off work, they don't have time to look into all the issues that are going on in the community, because you have, especially women, in the Latino community, they're working to try to provide, and they could be a single mother or they can be married, and so her and her husband's working. But then once she gets off of work, after putting 10, 12 hours in, or maybe more, she has to go home, cook for the family, feed the kids, clean the house, wash the dishes, things like that. So there's no time for her to be looking at all the issues and looking that somebody's saying, oh, please fill out the census, it counts, whether it's on social media or any mailings they're getting. There's no time for that, because you're tired after standing up in a factory for 10, 12, 16 hours a day, So people need to take that into consideration as well, and then try to figure out, what's the best way we can reach them then,
Right. The time is now 8:40 a.m. You are listening to Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast, and we are joined by our guest and brother, Chicano. What do the words social justice mean to you?
Just the words themselves, without anything else added to it. Just basically means, there should be justice in our society, in dealing with the people. But now it's what you add to it, what makes the difference in the type of conversation we would have on that,
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's a big issue in the community, though, that needs to be talked about. So the sessions, the meetings that are had by Barbara Hernandez's office, I think that's a good thing, because it keeps a conversation going on that. And that's something
Shout out to our state rep, 83rd District.
There you go. And yes, that, I think that in itself, just the conversation of that, can help make a lot of change out here in Aurora, to get people to understand, the injustices, that are happening, things like that, and the mental health aspect. A lot of different. It depends on which type of way you're going with the social justice issue.
Now, with the social justice aspect that we're trying to do here in Aurora, how would you rate the teamwork aspect, and how would you rate the contribution by our officials?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of it.
We'll call it city help,
I haven't seen a lot of it myself, personally. There may be other things going on that I haven't seen, and so I can't speak on that. But I've only basically seen State Representative Barbara Hernandez holding these sessions, and at first it was just members of the community, and now she's starting to invite people that are in certain positions to where they can talk about it, where they may be experts in the field or something like that.
Sure.
So I don't think it's something that she has started, and like I said, I'm unaware if anybody else is doing it, but it's something that needs to grow, so I can't really speak too much about it. because I haven't seen it happening, you know.
What do you think our city leaders need to do?
What-
How to improve that?
The social justice aspect. They need to follow her lead, you know, and those type of discussions need to be happening on a regular basis to where it's common. It's part of her everyday vocabulary. So she's holding a session, because she holds the sessions maybe once a month, right?
Yeah.
Where she's holding one here. A couple days later, a couple weeks later, somebody's holding one here, you know, different areas. And, you know, with that, as the conversation keeps going, it's not something that's going to be forgotten about. So I think that they should do the same thing, you know, just keep that going.
Yeah, it kind of brings more importance to it the more you talk about it.
Yes, it brings more importance to it, you know.
So I got a really good question. I've been saving it this whole interview. It's so great. First of all, can you let us know about Chicano's Times? That's not the question. We're going to get to it. I'm setting it up right now.
All right. Well, so as you know, my name is Chicano. The business I run is called Chicano Times. And then the part where you said Chicano's Times, that just is part of my personal Facebook profile.
Okay. All right.
And that, because it has an S after Chicano, is just the, you know, my times of what I've been, you know, what I'm doing, things like that. The business aspect is just Chicano Times, and that's what I do out in the community with the business, you know.
Okay.
And so are you asking about like the business itself?
Yeah. Tell us about it.
So it's I'm mobile with what I do. I don't have a location, building, like nothing like that, and I like it like that right now. What I do is I sell a lot of merchandise geared towards the Latino community, to the Mexican community.
Okay.
One of the main focuses I focus on is the Mexican flag. And so I have a variety of Mexican flags, big, small, other things that have the Mexican flag on it, like little boxing glove keychains that have the flag. I just have somebody making some pillows that have the Mexican flag on it. Just a bunch of different designs with that on there. But that's not the only thing I sell. I sell a lot of airbrushed artwork, a lot of brims, hats that the lowrider communities, you know, people wear. So I sell a lot of merchandise geared towards that as well. And some of the merchandise I get comes from Mexico, where people have been deported and they're out there trying to survive. So they do airbrush artwork on shirts, on backpacks, on baseball bats, on hats. And then, you know, there's a distributor in Texas that I deal with, and he helps them to try to survive out there. So he sells their merchandise as well, and I get some of that from him, sell it out here. So apart from just helping here, we're also helping them out there in Mexico, because the economy's, you know how the economy is out there. It's real tough. So they found a way to survive, and we're contributing to that as well. So that's part of what my business does. But I use that to my business to help promote other businesses. So while I'm trying to make a way for myself with this, because it's not a business that I've had for a long time, it's not a big business, it's something that I just started recently. Right. Even though I'm not there, I'm not well established, I use it to promote other businesses. I use some of the funds to do some of the events I do. So if I need to pay for a DJ or a band for an event, I use some of the funds for that. And I promote small Latino businesses with it. Right. And I'm not opposed to promoting any type of business, but I want to focus on the Latino community because I believe they need, you know, that representation. And I don't want to wait on anybody else. I don't want to wait on the city, any commerce, chambers of commerce, anything like that. You know, they do their part. That's fine. But I want to do my part. And I feel I have a different creative way of doing it, you know. So what I do is, like, if I want to promote a business, I'll approach them and tell them, you know, would you like me to promote you? I can, you know, I'll let them know what I bring. I'll bring my booth, the stuff I had, the flags draw attention. We'll bring music. We'll bring cars, lowriders, because I'm involved with the lowrider community as well. We'll set up, make it look, you know, attractive. Sometimes we'll hire a band or a DJ in front of the business or something, you know, or have somebody perform, or have the boxing club come do a demonstration. And then, you know, just attract people and have people hanging out, kicking it. So it serves a lot of different purposes, my business, you know, because while we're there promoting that business, we're inviting people in. We're doing videos and telling people, hey, come shop here. You know, this is what they have here. And then it works all the way around, even for the community, because it's giving the community, not just the business, you know, customers, it's giving the members of the community something to do as well. Because while they go there to shop, they're meeting new people, or they're seeing people they know, and they're hanging out. And with my business, I would like to do that throughout Aurora. Not just my business, but with the organization that I I'm going to start helping the community. I hope to incorporate all that together, business and community, and just do that all over Aurora, do pop-ups here and there.
Now, did you want to preview the business, or are we going to table that for
The business or the organization?
the business you're going to start, the organization you're going to start, excuse me?
We can wait on that.
Okay, all right.
But I would
Part
all I
two.
would say, all I would say on that is that I'm in the, I have plans to start an organization of my own representing the Latino community out here in Aurora. And I'm not going to focus on just one thing. So if somebody asks me, okay, what is your focus? It's not one thing. It's all the way around the board. Any way that I can help represent the Latino community, any way I can help, that's what the organization is going to be about. So that's about all I can say about that right now.
All right. That's a stay tuned out there, y'all. That's a stay tuned. Keep
Stay
up with
tuned.
Good Morning Aurora. We'll debut that when the brother shares it with us. What was your first car?
My first car, that's what you said?
Mhm.
It was 1983 Park Avenue, Buick Park Avenue,
Okay,
4-door long body.
right.
And
The plush seats. Boy, you sinking in them. Yeah.
And as you see, I have,
Where's Christine?
yeah, so those are the type of cars I like. As you see, I have the Lincoln I have is a long body.
Right,
I like,
right. Big body joints.
Yeah.
So here's the question I wanted to ask you. Got enough time to get it off. So let's paint a picture here for the audience. We got the all of the unrest in downtown Aurora.
Right.
We've got issues with the police department and the community. Things are bubbling and full of turmoil. There's not much getting along going on. The city has these sessions with which to hear the feedback from the community and hopefully put those in place. Organizations are coming up. They're saying that we would like to see this, we'd like to see that. The city is saying that they're listening and declaring that they hear, and they're working towards change. And then they order $88,000 worth of riot gear.
Right.
Chicano, what kind of impression do you think that would give a community member?
First of all, I think that's a slap in the face to the community members. I think that's disrespectful for them to do that, because of all the issues that are going on. And I get what they're saying. Oh, we need to protect our officers. I get that, but that's not the message it sends. There's a whole lot more different things they can do with that. A whole lot of different ways they can go about that. But even before you get to the riot gear, the discussions they had, they supposedly had discussions to where it was a change initiative, for the police department, and they were taking suggestions. But in the end, they stated, "Oh, we don't feel there's anything wrong. We don't feel our officers did anything wrong, so we're really not going to do anything."
The infamous poll
about
or
it.
whatever.
And one of the things they did as well was when they first announced that they were going to do that, they stated that we're going to have 12 members of the African American community be moderators, right? But not one time did they mention we're going to have any Latino moderators. And while the issue is, Black Lives Matter, and a lot of issues are happening with the black community and the police officers, we have the same problem. Not the exact same problem, but we have issues with the police officers as well, the Latino community, low-income people. And so Aurora having a huge Latino population, I believe no matter how you look at it, that should have been in the mix in the beginning as well, was we're going to have Latino moderators as well. So to say that you're going to have 12 African-American moderators, all you're trying to say to the community is, look, we hear what you're saying, we're going to try to make changes, and that's not really the case. You're doing that because of the outcry. So you're not sincere about what you're doing, because if you were, you would look at this and see that this is another issue as well that needs to be spoken on. And now they can say, yeah, well, we allowed space after that for people to sign up as moderators. Yeah, and that's true. I as a Latino, could have signed up, but that's not, the issue. The issue is in the beginning, when you thought of this, you should have planned for that as well. But then, anyway, it didn't matter because, they had their suggestions, and I did not attend any of those sessions, but a lot of people that I've spoken to said that a lot of times the police department, the officers that were there, did most of the speaking. So how are you listening to the community if you're doing most of the speaking, You're not. So then it comes, to the riot gear. Like I said, it's basically a slap in the face, disrespect, because it's one riot. you know, and it was not even a huge riot. Um, and okay, it's a riot where, like other cities, Chicago, for example, when they have a riot, they're not just protesting one day and that's it. They're doing it day after day after day. In a situation like that, you need that. But it hasn't happened out here, you know.
Right,
and
this isn't Portland.
Right. And the other thing is, if you feel you needed that, why don't you do things that put things in place to where it'll prevent a riot? Because what you're doing is you're preparing for after a riot starts. Why don't you prepare for, to stop the riot? I mean, before it even happens, you know what I mean? As far as in the community, the resources and things we need. Because obviously people are mad for a reason, you know? So look into those situations and try to remedy them rather than say, okay, when something happens, we're going to stop it with force. You know, so that was just, their response was, okay, all you guys are saying there's these problems, this and that. Then we're going to show y'all, we're going to meet it with force, you know?
Yeah, I think that it was probably one of the top 3 dumbest things that I've ever seen anybody do or advocate for in the last month. Like, it was really stupid.
Right.
I mean, before that, yeah, I don't want to put words in anyone else's mouth who may be listening, but it felt like the city was returning to a calm normal besides issues with the police department.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, you turn on your news, and what you got? $88,000 worth of record when the body camera issue wasn't addressed.
Right.
And you got District 131 students who ain't got enough laptops to go home with. I mean,
Right.
why? I mean, who looks at that for the calendar issues of the day coming up and says, we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that, we're going to talk about the rest? Why wouldn't you save that shit?
Right.
Who's making that decision?
Right.
Slap in the face.
Right. And then you got the youth services, you know, Simon Rodriguez, he's running that youth service for the city of Aurora. Yeah, so much of that money can go towards that.
I asked him in that interview. I said, what could you do with $88,000? The brother was like,
Right.
you could do a lot with that.
Yeah, and then the laptops that they're purchasing as well for the police department, for the officers and fire department. How much? That's a lot more money than the reg. I don't know the numbers. The numbers escape me right now.
Yeah.
But even with that, you could have given a small percentage of that, a certain percentage of that to the youth services, and a lot of people complain. The officers talk about, we want crime to be down. They even last year there was a rise in shootings, and I've even heard the community members, the police officers saying, we don't want it to return to back to how it was in the 90s and the early 2000s. Well, then do something, put programs in place so it doesn't return to that. Don't try to meet it with force. That's not going to solve anything. That's just going to make it worse.
Right.
Trying to meet it with force, trying to meet it with things like that, with the rag, it's just going to create where people want to go against you,
Right.
So, yeah, there's a whole lot of other things they can do.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying about solving the problem before it even happens. Investing in the children, when you're investing in education and the children, it's never a bad investment.
Right, and I hear a lot out in public. They're always talking about the kids this, the kids that, the kids are our future. And they say so much about it, but they don't act like it when they're not putting all these big programs in place. There should be community centers all throughout Aurora, big community centers, not just one. Now, I don't know all the details about the YMCA building that's there, but there's all these buildings downtown that are old, that have been abandoned, and they want to rehab them and put business in there. But then you have the YMCA, for whatever reasons, they have their reasons, I believe, to where they don't want to rehab that. They want the building owner to tear it down. When if you're investing all this money in all these buildings downtown, you can invest in that. That's a big area to where you can have a lot of community programs. It has a big field outside, a lot of parking. So
what
there's
building is that?
YMCA building on Garfield by Woodlawn.
Oh, that building. Okay, yeah,
It's right here, right down the street.
Right up the street.
Right up the street.
Yeah, that huge field's right there.
Yes. So they're going to say that there's problems in the basement. It has a spring where it's leaking, things like that. Of course, all these other buildings have problems too. And what are you doing with them? The Copley building, where the Copley Hospital was. Look at all the money that you're putting into that. So why can't you do that to the YMCA building and turn it into a community center? I could do a lot with that. I could do work wonders with a building like the YMCA in a community center. You know, we can put all type of programs in there. The ideas are limitless with that. You know, so there's a problem right there. You know, and downtown, yeah, some of those buildings need to be rehabbed and fixed up. But if you want downtown to really be on something, I don't think you should rehab every old building down there, because you don't want a downtown with just old buildings. You know, you have to have a mix. So you would want to tear some down and put new buildings up, modern buildings. And for Aurora to be the second largest city, why don't we have taller buildings here in Aurora downtown? Why, when you pass through the interstate, the expressway and all that, and all these other towns that you see taller buildings, along the expressway, why aren't they here? They should be here downtown. They should be closer to our expressway by the outlet mall. And I believe they're working on things like that. I've heard they have had ideas on building up, but that's the thing. Change some of the buildings, don't just keep them like that.
Yeah, because when you're going to like the city on the highway, you know what I'm saying, Wheaton and all that, you can see like, damn, Oak Brook,
right,
it's glittering,
and,
like
right.
Ooh.
And here a lot of people showcase the Leland Towers, like that's one building.
Yeah,
that's one building, and I think for the potential that Aurora has, the things that are going on here, I think it's necessary to stop just showcasing that one building, start putting other big buildings up, and make it like it's the second largest city. Make the downtown, something to talk about. But I know we got off subject because I started talking about the YMCA building, but that had to do, in speaking about the riot gear.
Right.
Money can go towards a lot of different things, from the riot gear.
How can people get in touch with you?
I'm all over the community.
All right. That was excellent.
Well,
that was
look
excellent.
For the car. Do you social media, Instagram?
First,
Facebook?
I run we didn't talk about the boxing club. I run 8-Town Boxing Club.
Okay.
There's two of us that run it. I run it with Giovanni Villagomez. He's the head coach.
Shout out to Giovanni.
Yeah, and we run that on 4th and Jackson by Waldo. So that's on Facebook, 8-Town Boxing Club. It's on Instagram. That's something we do. We train kids 8 to 18 years old, right? So we're helping try to keep them off the streets, give them something to do, teach them discipline. But we want to also, I think if I start talking about these things, these are whole other conversations in themselves, and there's not enough time for that because there's a lot of things that we're doing with the boxing club, a lot of plans that that are in the works right now. I can give you a brief breakdown. We're trying to expand it to where it's not just a boxing club. We want to take it to a whole nother level where we teach the kids how to volunteer in the community, where we're teaching the kids history, culture, politics, different type of trainings. We're in a lot of discussions right now with a lot of different people on doing that.
Cool.
To make it
a great another episode just all on the boxing club.
We should go.
Mm-hmm. Oh gosh, okay.
I went.
I can box.
Oh, you can. We should do it. Whoa, what? Chicano gave me a tour.
Okay, let's go.
I walked in there. The energy.
Yeah. Oh,
the energy. They was in there like, the energy was. I mean, you could. Yeah, it was awesome. It was like Rocky. You walk up in there, joint. For real. It was like the energy was just really awesome. So
we should go on site there.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we get a tour?
Yeah.
Good morning, Aurora. Okay.
We're closed right now, but
oh, that's right. Yeah.
We had open, but right now they're doing some remodeling in there.
Yeah.
So we're closed for right now.
It's right around the corner from Waldo. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a whole nother discussion because we got so many different plans for the boxing club. And then apart from that, as you say, I run Chicano Times. So I'm on Facebook as Chicano Times. That's the business. And then my personal profile is Chicano Times. It's also on Instagram. But like I said, I'm mobile and I'm always all over the place because I do the business, I do the community thing. I'm a part of another organization. As I said, I'm about to start my own organization. So apart from knowing my number and the social media, that's how you can contact me or just see me somewhere because I'm always either promoting some type of event, promoting some type of business, helping somewhere in the community, or just assisting in somebody else's organization of what they're doing.
I can vouch the brother is out there. So if you want to be involved in the community, you will bump into our brother Chicano. You will.
And this weekend, I'll be at First Fridays. There's a vending opportunity down there that I'll be selling my merchandise as well. And I don't think you mentioned that, or maybe something went wrong with that or something, but I'm scheduled to...
Where will you be, Chicano?
All I know is it's a thing that Mary Foss is doing with her organization Can.
Okay.
And she's supposed to have a bunch of vendors booths out there. I believe across from City Hall in the parking lot.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Right by the
And
farmers market area.
yes,
is?
I believe so. So I'm supposed to have a booth there selling the merchandise I have. Saturday, well, the weekend I'll probably be at Taco Mobile again. I'm somewhere selling my merchandise. On the 12th of September, we're leading up to Mexican Independence Day. I'll be promoting the businesses downtown on Broadway, the ones that the majority that were affected by the protest and COVID between Galena and New York.
Okay.
So I'll be down there promoting all those businesses at one time, bringing some of the elements that I told you about of what I'll be doing.
That's the 12th, right?
The 12th
Okay,
on Saturday. That's going to be from 12 to 2. And that's one event, and it should be a huge event as well. After that, from 3 p.m. to maybe 10 p.m., we'll be at Taco Mobile. And there's no festival, there's no parade this year for Mexican Independence Day. So we're going to do a big event there, but keeping COVID in mind with the mask, sanitizer, the social distancing and all that. But we hope to have a lot of entertainment there because I know the Latino community every year when these parades and festivals come, you see everybody riding around in their cars with the Mexican flags and all that. So I know everybody's going to be itching to have something to do. So we would like to have a place for them to go hang out throughout the day. So from this first event that we're doing here downtown, we're going to switch over and then start another event. And, hopefully that's a success because it's all for the community,
Nice. All right. Well, we just got an interesting email, but we're going to debut that tomorrow morning. That's tomorrow morning's news, y'all. That's tomorrow morning's news. I thought I had this on mute. I guess not. Boom.
So I know that you were saying that there was a question that you had that you were holding the whole
was
time.
it.
That was it?
It was the riot gear question.
Oh, okay.
That was it, yeah.
And then just real quick, I don't know how much time we have.
You got enough time for, we got enough time for one more shout out.
All right.
Go ahead.
Well, the thing is with my business, the other things I do in the community, the boxing club, with the organization I want to start, just letting people know if you're genuine with what you want to do, if you feel like you want to help the community in the type of way I'm doing, being creative with the entertainment aspect and, incorporating that all into the, community business and all that. And you got that energy and you feel like you want to do that and help, then you can come volunteer with me. As we grow it gets bigger down the line, then there'll be better opportunities. But at the moment, a lot of these opportunities are voluntary opportunities. And, we're all over the community, be able to network, especially with the organization. When I do start that, if I don't want to be out recruiting people, I want the people to see what I'm doing, and if they feel like, I like what he's doing, and they want to get involved, then they can get involved. Okay. Because I feel that if I do it that way, where they just see it and they like it, it'll be that much more successful. Whereas if I go recruiting people, they may not like it as much, but they're there helping. You know what I mean?
Right, of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let them be drawn to it.
Right, and even with the boxing club, that we eventually will be looking for volunteers, help with trainers, things like that, because we're growing as a boxing club, and we can always use that as well.
All right. So the time is now 9:05 a.m. So we got another part 2. We got to do a part 2 coming soon. The show ends on a positive note. What's the message of the day for the people of Aurora from Chicano?
The message of the day is, on a positive note, we're going to be pushing as far as to make change. So it's not about just talking about it. It's about taking action and showing, what you're doing to show some type of results, So there's a lot of different aspects that we're working on to do that. So that's the most important message is, take that action, do it, just make it happen. You know what I mean? If you think about it and you feel it's something good, just do it. And that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're going to do,
All right. And with that, we'd like to say thank you to our brother Chicano for coming in to talk to us today. It was a great interview. You've been listening to Good Morning Aurora. We're proud to be the second largest city's first daily news podcast. We hope that you guys have a powerful, blessed, and motivated and dedicated Wednesday today. And we will see you back.